Court is now in session for the trial of the Ace Attorney collections.
Hold it!
So that's your answer, Avert, is it? Your proposed solution to parting with face cam footage is a cringeworthy objection.lol intro skit that emanates 2020 energy? Well, originally I was planning on making the opening and turnabout creator, but my computer kinda couldn't handle it, so I decided to make it in objection.lol instead. To sully this court with such an unoriginal idea, have you thoroughly lost your mind?
Objection!
Well, I may have lost my mind. You just pointed out that the cringy objection.lol skit you're in is cringe. That is what literally every cringy objection.lol skit does, meaning you're no less cringy yourself, Edgeworth. Ugh. Anyway, let's get into the video. So last year, the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy and the Ace Attorney Investigations Collection released, meaning that now every single Ace Attorney game that matters is now available on every single platform that matters. All 10 of these games are available through 4 different collections, and in this video I want to discuss each one of the Ace Attorney collections and how they stack up comparatively against each other. Keep in mind this video isn't a review for the games themselves, however this series is incredible and you should absolutely play it, and if you do play it, you should play it in this order because this is the objectively correct order to play the games. That's just factually proven to be true, and yeah. This video is just going to be discussing all the collections and how good they are as game collections, since we've came a long way from the original Phoenix Wright trilogy. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first Ace Attorney collection to be released was the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy back in 2019, and it's a little bit, let's say, lacking compared to the other collections. The reason why I say that is because the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy is missing a lot of quality of life improvements and also bonus content that is present in the later collections in the series. However, before I get into all the things that aren't in this collection, I want to talk about things in this collection that I actually think were done worse than the original games. First, now this is entirely subjective, but I'm not a fan of the HD sprites in this trilogy. The later 2D games in the collections also have hand-drawn sprites, but those ones are a lot more polished and look a lot better. The hand-drawn sprites in this trilogy kind of seem cheap in a sense. Very smooth, a lot of like texture missing. I just don't really like the way it looks. I know this is entirely like a personal opinion or whatever, but I've seen a lot of people say that they like the original sprites from the DS a lot better than the sprites here, and I have to agree. Well, the HD sprites aren't terrible or anything. It definitely loses a lot of the charm of the original sprites on DS. Some of the sprites actually look pretty goofy in HD. Another issue with this trilogy collection is that it gives you the option to adjust the transparency of the text boxes, which is good. However, it's set to opaque by default. I know this is a really minor issue. However, it's likely that most people won't even know this option is there, so they'll just start up the game without going to the options, and now all the text boxes are opaque. This is a problem because the text boxes being opaque blocks a lot of the sprite animations. There are a bunch of really cool animations and visual gags and sprites that get lost because they're blocked by the opaque text boxes. I also think that this trilogy has really bad audio mixing. If you set both the music and the sound effect sliders to 5, the sound effects are a lot louder than the music, so you might think, okay, turn the sound effects slider down 1 notch to 4. However, the voices and the sound effects are both set to the same slider, so if you turn the sound effects down, also the voices will be quieter as well. Which means that you need to either play the game with obnoxiously loud sound effects on like menus and text boxes, or you need to play the game with quieter objections. Both options kinda suck. The final issue I have with this trilogy that I think is legitimately just worse than the original games on DS, this is the biggest one, it's how it handles the case artwork. On DS, whenever you would start up a case, you would have this generic courtroom background on the screen, but then after you beat the case, you would get artwork for the case you just beat. This is good because it both acts as a reward for beating the case, while also not letting you see the artwork of the case before you play it. That's good because a lot of the case artwork in the trilogy kind of spoils aspects of the case beforehand. The first Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney game's artwork works as like movie posters. Every case has a whole poster with a bunch of characters from the case. I don't know if it's the best idea to let the players see all that before they enter the case itself. This is especially egregious in Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations because the case artworks for both of those games have a different character front and center for each case. And sometimes you're not supposed to know that character is in the case or what they look like before you're done it. The Stolen Turnabout and Turnabout Beginnings in Trials and Tribulations are the first two cases I think of when this issue is brought up. The Stolen Turnabout's case artwork shows off the main prosecutor for the game, which you're not supposed to know what they look like before the case, and 3-4 shows off a character in the game that you're not supposed to know is even in the game, and they sport a new look that you're also not supposed to know about. The fact that all case artworks in the game are just visible right from the get-go is so dumb, and easily it's the biggest thing that they made worse. Also, I don't even think this is an issue in the 3DS Trilogy collection, so this is an issue they added in the 2019 version of this trilogy. Oh yeah, and one final quick thing, typos. There were a lot of typos in the original trilogy, a lot of them have been fixed, however there are still a lot of typos in the trilogy collection. Moving on from aspects I think they made worse, now we get to talk about the things that aren't added that are in the other collections, and there are quite a few things here to get into. The most glaring omission from this trilogy is some sort of like text box chat log history feature, which is available in literally every other collection after this. The ability to look back at the text history was introduced in Dual Destinies in 2013, literally like 6 years before this trilogy collection came out, and they still didn't add that feature. A chat log would be especially useful here considering there are a lot of times in the trilogy in which the text will skip automatically as a gag, because a character is being cut off by another character or anything else of the sort. Also, the collection gives you the ability to skip text right from the get-go. So, I mean, I don't know why this wasn't a feature that they added in. Another feature missing from this trilogy that's in every other Ace Attorney collection is chapters. In every other Ace Attorney collection, when you start up a case, you're able to select which chapter in the case you start from. You can't do that in the trilogy. Which, I mean, that's okay for your first playthrough, but if there's a part of the game you want to skip to, you can't do that unless you have a previous save file in that exact spot. This trilogy also does not feature autoplay or story mode. These features are available in every other Ace Attorney collection. Basically, autoplay lets you push a button so that text progresses by itself, and you can select how fast a text box appears after one is finished. And story mode is pretty much just the game playing itself, so you could treat it as a movie without having to do any player input. And now we can get into this trilogy's lack of bonus content. The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy doesn't feature a gallery where you can view in-game artwork and concept artwork. It doesn't feature a music player where you can listen to the in-game music, and it doesn't feature the accolades, which are just the achievements in-game that are in every other Ace Attorney collection. And it really sucks that all this bonus content isn't in this collection, because this is the one Ace Attorney collection that most people are gonna play. Most people who get into Ace Attorney will need a modern way to play these games that are convenient. They'll play this trilogy, and then they'll probably just stop there. And it really sucks that we don't have any of the bonus content or the quality of life features that are present in every other Ace Attorney collection. Overall, the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy collection, it's acceptable. You know, that's pretty much it. It is as bare bones as it gets. It is literally just the 3 games in HD, barely, slapped together with some options you can use, and like credits, if you want to count that. That's it. It is as serviceable of a collection as you can get. Really is just like they slapped the 3DS trilogy into HD and then just threw it onto modern platforms. I mean, you do get localization into other languages, which you didn't get before, I'm pretty sure. It was newly localized, so that's cool. This is still the most accessible way to play the Phoenix Wright trilogy, but I definitely think they could have done a lot more with it. Hell, I'd pay for an update for this game. Pay $5 to get some better sprites and some bonus content and the history viewer and other content, quality of life changes. That would be really nice, but as it stands, this collection is kind of an embarrassment, even if the games themselves are definitely must-plays. So overall, while these games are all must-plays, this collection is easily the worst one in the series. I'd give it like a 3 out of 10 collection-wise. But the good news is that it only gets better from here. Oh, and also if they do end up adding an update to this collection, they could also make a physical version in English, because the West never got a physical version. The physical version of the Phoenix Wright Trilogy in HD is exclusive to Japan, which, I mean, thankfully they have English options in there, so, I mean, it doesn't matter too much, but come on now, it's really weird that this is the only physical copy of the Ace Attorney games that I do not have yet. I have all the other collections physically except this one, so yeah. Also, the current HD Phoenix Wright Trilogy is way better than that original iOS mobile port. Like, do you guys remember that? Dude, Jesus. So 3 years after the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy came out in HD, Capcom released the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, featuring the 2 Great Ace Attorney games. This was a massive deal because neither of the 2 Great Ace Attorney games had ever been localized outside of Japan. There was a fan translation project for these games that were going on before this collection came out. However, they never finished Great Ace Attorney 2's localization. Right as they were about to get to the end, bam, Capcom dropped this thing. So, yeah, that completely cut him off. As a collection, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles is a massive step up from the original Phoenix Wright Trilogy in HD. However, there are still some omissions here. Before I get into that though, I want to quickly talk about the translation and localization itself. You see, Great Ace Attorney is in part inspired by the Sherlock Holmes stories. And originally, Sherlock Holmes in the game was called, well, Sherlock Holmes. But because the Conan Doyle family is a bunch of pricks, they had to rename Sherlock Holmes to Herlock Sholmes, and I will not take any complaints. This is the best name of all time. Other name changes had to be made. Iris Watson is now Iris Wilson, which, I mean, this doesn't really affect the game too much, but I just thought I'd point that out because it's pretty funny. So as for the collection itself, it did actually introduce some quality of life improvements to the games. First, there is now officially a chat log / history viewer, which is really nice to have. Other inclusions include the story mode, which got introduced in this collection. Again, it's pretty much just letting the game play itself, so you can treat it as a movie. And also the autoplay got introduced here, which just makes the text go by automatically. And finally, for quality of life improvements, this collection actually has chapters, so you can select a point in each case to start from instead of just having to start from the very beginning every time. Next, we can get into the bonus content, which this collection actually has. First bonus feature to mention here are the escapades, which are little like short adventure story things with the characters that happen like in the main cases themselves. Just like side content that doesn't really affect anything. You could just not watch these and it wouldn't change the story at all, but it's really neat and cute to have this. Another feature are the costumes that you can wear, which you can only wear in the second game for some reason. I don't know why they're not also available in the first game. Also, these costumes are kind of Susato's is definitely the best of the 3, but the other 2 are kind of just whatever. I never really put these costumes on ever, so I mean, I don't know. Next thing, this game actually has accolades, which function as the in-game achievements. Another thing that's cool to have. The final 2 things we got here are the gallery and the auditorium. I'll start with the gallery here. The gallery includes moving pictures, which are basically like promotional videos for the game. Another thing that's cool to have in the collection. But the main meat and potatoes to dig into in the gallery are the concept art and illustrations. The concept art and illustrations in this collection actually contain developer commentary by the artists who drew the characters, which immediately gives this collection a leg up above all the other Ace Attorney collections since none of the other ones actually have that. Then finally, we got the auditorium. In the auditorium, you can listen to the in-game soundtrack, you can listen to sound effects and also voice lines. You can also listen to voice lines, sound effects, and music that were unused in the game. An unused track I'd like to highlight here is actually the unused investigation theme, which sounds really good, but doesn't quite fit the game. And you know what? I think I'm going to play that really quick. Hold on. Alright, there we go. If you bought the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles before August 31st, 2021, you got some extra bonus stuff in the gallery for the second game, Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve, which I of course got, and I'm going to proceed to flex it onto everybody watching this video right now. However, as good as this gallery and auditorium is, there is a huge issue I have with the auditorium, and that is that it doesn't have every song in the soundtrack in it. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. When games have a music player inside of them, but it doesn't contain every song in the game, like, why are you going to have a music player if you're not going to put every track in it? Like, what? Like, how much time does it take to put a couple extra tracks into your music player? Like, you make this huge whole freaking music player and you just put selective songs in there? Like, are you serious? Like, there's so many, like, clear omissions from the auditorium. Where is the main pursuit theme, for instance? The pursuit theme isn't in the auditorium? Like, are you serious? They don't have the core investigation theme. They don't have any of the cross-examination themes in there. Like, what was the thought process behind this? Yes, I'm really glad that we could get freaking Albert Hairbrain's theme into the auditorium, but we couldn't fit the main pursuit theme. Not as if the pursuit theme plays a lot in the game itself. It plays like, what, 5 times? 3 of those are like the final case. There's some cases in the game that don't even have the pursuit theme playing. I don't get this at all. I do not understand this thought process here at all. Also, one more thing I want to vent about regarding the music in this game. If this game gets a point for having developer commentary during the gallery and character illustrations, then that point immediately gets revoked, considering that this is the only Ace Attorney collection that doesn't have an original title screen theme. Like, I kind of understand that, right? You don't want to orchestrate a whole new track just for the title screen, so you just throw Ryunosuke Naruhodo's theme on there. Okay, fine, whatever. But that means this is the only collection that doesn't have an original title screen theme. The original Phoenix Wright trilogy had that. So, I mean, like when the Phoenix Wright trilogy has a point over you, that's when you know you messed up. But with all my petty rants aside, this still is a good Ace Attorney collection. It brought 2 games that were unreleased outside of Japan to the West into several different languages, and that is really good by itself. Not to mention the fact that the visuals are on point. These HD models look phenomenal in-game. Everything in the game looks great. It sounds great. You know, we have all these quality of life features that weren't in the original trilogy. This is a good collection, even though I can still vent about how there are some minor things missing in the gallery, in the auditorium, in the special content, how there isn't an original title screen theme. But you know what? These games are fantastic. This collection's good. And overall, I'd give the collection like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 7.5. I don't know if it quite reaches a 7.5. I'll have to decide it while editing. But it is a good, competent, quality collection. Moving on. So after the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles released, Ace Attorney fans would have to wait another 3 years to get the next Ace Attorney collection, the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. This collection combines Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. Now upon hearing that, you may think to yourself, why does the Apollo Justice trilogy contain 2 Phoenix Wright games? However, I assure you, this collection does work good as a Apollo Justice trilogy, even if I highly doubt that the games were all designed to be a cohesive trilogy. It's also really weird considering the fact that Apollo Justice released in 2007 initially on the DS, while Dual Destinies released in like 2013. That's like a 6-year gap. Almost like a decade-long gap between those 2 installments. The Investigations games came out in between those, so it is pretty weird as a trilogy, but I still think it works. I'm taking time to mention this because I've seen a lot of people bring up how they don't like the name of this collection, the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy, because they don't think it fits or whatever, and I'm like, what else do you want them to call it? The Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy 2? Anyway, actually talking about the collection, I'd say, for me personally at least, this collection is the biggest gap for me between how I feel about the games themselves and how I feel about the collection as a whole. Because on one hand, the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy contains my least favorite set of games out of all the collections. Apollo Justice definitely weighs it down in that regard. It's easily my least favorite Ace Attorney game and the only one I'd consider to just be bad. But on the other hand, I can't deny that objectively, this is the best of the Ace Attorney collections. Not only does it retain all the quality of life improvements and bonus content from the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, it also adds new bonus content in as well. But before I talk about that, I want to quickly talk about some negatives I have with the collection, of which there are a few, and almost all of them are in Apollo Justice. Because of course. The first issue I have is Nintendo Switch exclusive. Basically, when you play Apollo Justice in handheld mode, the sprites look really pixelated and bad for some reason. No idea why. I mean, this hasn't been an issue in literally any other of the collections in handheld mode. The sprites in the original Phoenix Wright trilogy looked perfectly fine in handheld mode. Well, as fine as those sprites can look. But for some reason, the sprites in Apollo Justice look really pixelated and crummy in handheld mode. I don't know why. I don't know why it hasn't been fixed yet. It's a known issue, and yeah, it probably should have been fixed in one of the first patches the game got. The next issue with Apollo Justice in the trilogy is that for some reason they decided to make all the backgrounds in the game zoomed in. At first I thought this was going to be a Disney Plus scenario in which the aspect ratio was more square on DS, so they had to like zoom in to get widescreen, and that's why it had to be zoomed in. But no, all the backgrounds are in widescreen. They just for some reason decided to zoom it in a little bit. This is especially jarring and noticeable in the Write Anything agency, which like you can just tell at a glance that this is zoomed in. This picture frame is like half cut off. This is the most baffling issue the collection has, because like, what's even the motive behind doing this? Like, what's even the point of zooming in the backgrounds? It just looks worse. I can only think of like 2 plausible explanations as to why they would want to zoom the backgrounds in. First explanation I can pull out of Trucy's panties is that maybe they wanted it to be more like the 3DS games and investigation segments, where if you move the hand up or down, the screen also moves up and down a little bit, making it feel a little more 3D or something. I don't know. Another explanation I can pull out of Trucy's panties, this would be pretty stupid, is sometimes in the game the screen will shake, and in the original trilogy when the screen shook you could see like the black bar, black outline outside of the screen, and maybe they wanted to not be able to see that, so they made it zoomed in so that when the screen shakes you still see the background. I don't know. Either way, it's such a stupid change, and honestly, I don't know why they did it. Final issue I have with Apollo Justice in the collection is that they locked the frame rate to 30 FPS when it was 60 FPS originally, and the reason why they did this, apparently, was because Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice run at 30 frames, so they wanted all of them to have the same frame rate. And like, wouldn't a better solution to that be to raise the frame rate of Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice? Like, just put those at 60. Not as if the frame rate of games matters to me all that much, but like, come on, really? Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice are pretty much flawless from what I can remember. I don't think they have any technical issues or anything. And that brings us into general issues with the collection, of which I can only think of one, that being that it has the same problem that the Phoenix Wright trilogy had, where the game shows you all the case artwork before you even start the cases. I know it is a pretty small issue in the grand scheme of things, but it's still so annoying how these collections do that. Like, at least with the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, that also shows you the case artwork before you start the cases. However, the case artwork doesn't really spoil anything about the case. The case artwork in the Apollo Justice trilogy definitely does. Anyway, that's all the negatives I have with the collection out of the way. Let's talk about the positives. I already mentioned that all the quality of life improvements are returning from the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, so I'm not going to mention any of them here again. So for bonus content, we start off with the art library, being a place where you can view in-game artwork, concept artwork, and even animated cutscenes from the game. Not only can you view the artwork in here though, it's also stylized. You can see like this little shelf in the background. It's just a nice attention to detail here. You can totally put a lot of love and effort in here. Something I'll say though here is that some of the in-game artwork is actually missing from this gallery and not viewable here. Also, the actual like investigation backgrounds in Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice aren't viewable here. Even though the Apollo Justice backgrounds are, and that isn't really a big issue because of a new bonus feature we'll talk about later, but still kind of annoying. You got the orchestra hall where you can listen to music from the game, and this time they actually put the full soundtracks in here. This is amazing, guys. We finally have a music player with the whole OST in it. Not only that, but they actually went above and beyond here with this music player. You have this UI where you have like these little chibi sprites of all the characters there. You have Phoenix Wright playing the piano. Can we keep him? I want to keep him. So I mentioned that you have the full soundtracks for all 3 of these games, and in Apollo Justice that actually includes the original Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney soundtrack, a few songs from there because they play in the flashback section of Apollo Justice. Meaning that the Apollo Justice trilogy has more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney music than the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy. The Orchestra Hall also features 2 new songs, one of which is the title screen for the game, which yes, they actually made a new title screen theme and it's a banger. And also a remix of Trucy's theme, which sounds really good. A lot of like credit, energy on it. The last thing that's so good about this music player is that you can actually play the music in the in-game menus themselves. You can set different songs from any of the games to any of the games on the menu, and also like set different backgrounds and stuff, so you can choose whether you want to have a song playing over all the different games in the menu. You can choose whether you have several different tracks for each game in the menu. It's just really nice and customizable. Of course, the accolades are back, which is nice. And finally, we got one new bonus feature: the animation studio. This thing is insane. It's literally, you can view any character sprite in the trilogy over any background in the trilogy, and then like play their objection voices, have their mouths move. It's just insane that this is in the game. Like, you even have the ability to put a green screen or a blue screen in the background. This is perfect for YouTube videos. I would definitely recommend not using this until you've beaten the games though, because it's really easy to just get spoiled instantly right as you go into this animation studio, but this is still an awesome new feature. The Apollo Justice trilogy also features these costumes that are brought over from the original 3DS versions of Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. And here, it actually makes sense why the costumes aren't available in all 3 games, because Apollo Justice is a 2D game, and Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice are both 3D games, and it'd be really weird to have costumes in a 2D game, although it would be kind of neat to see, I guess, but I digress. The Dual Destinies costumes are actually pretty nice. There's one for Phoenix, Apollo, and Athena. Phoenix's is his original outfit, in case you don't like his new outfit. Nice to have. You got Apollo's outfit, which is this like sweater with a backpack, and you got like the little keychain of Mr. Hat on there. My least favorite of the 3, but still decent. And then you got Athena's outfit, which is her school uniform. All of these costumes are good, and I actually do use them when playing through the game, which I can't exactly say about Spirit of Justice's costumes, because what are these? Apollo's costume is definitely the best of the 3, it being a reference to Ryunosuke Naruhodo's outfit in The Great Ace Attorney. But what are these other 2? Why are they both based off of Recipe for Turnabout characters? Why is Athena in this maid outfit? Why is Phoenix in the tiger's outfit? And why does he actually look pretty good in that outfit with his chest sticking out? Sorry, moving on. Last thing I want to talk about in regards to the costumes here isn't what we got, but what we didn't get, because we were robbed of these 3 samurai outfits. I wasn't even aware these existed until Xenovia told me, but apparently in the Japanese version of Spirit of Justice, these were exclusive there. There were DLC costumes of these samurai outfits, and they are amazing. Why were these not brought over to Spirit of Justice officially? These are so much better than the actual costumes that we got. Why were these locked to the Japanese only version of Spirit of Justice on 3DS? Why? This was such a perfect opportunity to do it, and they just didn't do it. So now, because of Xenovia's Cave on YouTube, I have to stay awake at night knowing that we could have had these samurai outfits, but we were robbed of them. Screw you, Xenovia's Cave. She doesn't even make good Ace Attorney content. Nobody go check out her channel and subscribe. Don't even think about it. I'm pissed. So yeah, the Apollo Justice trilogy is easily the best collection out of the 4. I don't know how many people are going to argue against that. It has the most content, all the quality of life improvements. It just has it all. Even if I'm not the biggest fan of the games in the collection themselves, I can still say that this collection is easily the best. I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10. It has a few issues, but those issues are minimal at best. So after the release of the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy, Ace Attorney fans would have to wait less than a year for the Ace Attorney Investigations collection to come out. The Ace Attorney Investigations collection was announced about half a year after the Apollo Justice trilogy released, in what is probably the best Nintendo Direct of all time, and I was pretty excited when this was revealed.
I don't know if this is true. Apparently, Pyoro retweeted some Ace Attorney thing, so maybe there's going to be an Ace Attorney thing. Who knows? Investigations duology would go hard.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get your hopes up for that.
I would not. All I know is that if Miles Edgeworth is in this direct somewhere, I will shit bricks.
3 movies, they're like a
Oh my! Whoa! Hold on.
I don't say what's next. Don't say what's next.
Oh,
I don't
you
know
wait.
what
Whoa!
Let's go!
Oh my God.
I knew it.
Holy
My
shit!
life is complete.
It
My life is
happened.
complete. Keep the names.
Wow!
Keep the names.
Oh,
keep the
it's
names.
right.
Keep the names. Keep the names.
That's nice.
Keep the
Wait,
names.
did they
Come
keep
on.
the name?
Keep the
Did
names.
Wright keep his name?
Fender. Okay.
I didn't see. I didn't think to check.
Fender.
I actually didn't check.
No, Raymond's
that's
name.
not what
Fender.
Wright keep his name?
Fender.
I
It
literally
says
just
Fender.
beat Investigations
They
2
changed
yesterday.
his name to Fender. Come on, keep Simon Keys though. That's
At least keep the
Simon
best.
Keys, Dusty, and Courtney need to stay. Yeah, the best. Simon Keys and Courtney need to
That-
stay. I don't give a shit about the rest. This looks incredible, dude. I'm like, how are they gonna get this done when it's like pixel art? You can change the pixel. And Trevor, my wallet's bye-bye. My wallet's gone, dude. My wallet is gonna fucking.
Show me the names, you cowards.
Exactly.
Tell me that. Nintendo,
We'll have to
whoever's
go
doing
back. I'm pretty
this,
sure
I will
that's-
So September 6th?
and I will rip out your tech
Wait, is that the same day as Astrobot? Come on.
You
I only
Astrobot,
have
get
so much
fucked, you
money.
fucking Astrobot. Let's go. This
Oh, for
remix is
fuck's sake.
insane.
And
Who put this
Oh,
right
my
after?
God.
Is that Raincoat DLC?
No one gives a fuck.
It's another
You
case
got
of,
L plus
alright,
ratioed
we-
so hard by my life, it's not even
I
funny.
want you to
Edgeworth
put this
fucking
after
L
Ace
plus
Attorney.
ratioed you. No
Come
one
on.
cares, Dugana.
You see, Ace Attorney Investigations 2 is my favorite video game of all time. Hell, it's my favorite piece of art of all time. I literally painted a vinyl record with the artwork used on the Ace Attorney Investigations 2 soundtrack, and it's still up on my wall. But the thing with Investigations 2 is that it had yet to be localized into English officially, meaning that Investigations 2 was the only Ace Attorney game that wasn't localized into English officially, which really sucks considering it's the best one out of all of them. Now, there are a plethora of reasons as to why it hadn't been officially localized. First of all, it released back in 2011. That is right before the 3DS came out, and it was a DS game. And since the first game didn't sell that well, Capcom just decided not to localize the second one in English. They didn't think it would be worth it. However, with the release of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles, the door was held wide open for Capcom to localize games that hadn't been localized into English yet in the Ace Attorney series. A collection featuring the 2 Ace Attorney Investigations games was literally my most wanted game for a while now, and when it actually got revealed, I was beyond ecstatic. My desire for the collection to come out was just increased every time a new Ace Attorney collection came out that wasn't the Investigations games. The Investigations games were literally the last 2 games that needed to be brought into HD on modern platforms. The only way to play Investigations 2 before this collection came out was through the fan translation, which is pretty good. It is a pretty good fan translation, all things considered, had a lot of effort and love and care put into it. But the thing about that is you have to emulate the game. Not everyone's willing to do that, and it would be really nice for literally everyone to be able to experience the best game of all time. So September 6th rolls around. I get my mom to drive me into the city. Around lunchtime, I walk to my nearest GameStop at the mall. I go there, I ask for the game because I got it pre-ordered, I get it handed to me, I see the game physically, I have it in my hand, I can't believe it's real. Also, the Switch version's the only version that got a physical release, so I got that, and then I have it, I go to put it into my Switch at the mall, I pop the cartridge in, and I didn't have the pre-order bonus, it wasn't on the receipt, so I had to go back to the GameStop, tell the girl working there that, hey, I didn't get my pre-order bonus. And then we got it all figured out. She printed a new receipt for me. I got the bonus. Everything was good. I walked out of there. And then I proceeded to pop the game in. At home, I went to play it. And I am pretty torn on this collection. On the one hand, the Ace Attorney Investigations collection is my personal favorite out of all the Ace Attorney collections. But on the other hand, it's really unpolished. especially on the Nintendo Switch version, which, considering that's the only physical version of this game you can buy, that's kind of a problem. The Switch version of the Investigations collection is just riddled with technical issues, especially in the first game, which were immediately apparent upon the first night playing this game. I'm just gonna quickly run through the technical issues in Ace Attorney Investigations 1 in this collection on Switch. Text boxes will sometimes take a second or two to work. Like, you'd push the button, you'd hear the blip sound effect, and then you'd have to wait like 2 seconds or so, and then hear another blip before the text actually skips. Sometimes the organizer takes like upwards of 5 seconds to open. Sometimes the logic button will just decide not to work and you have to push it again. A lot of the time, character voice clips will be out of sync with the speech bubbles. Character animations often buffer and lag. It's just really unpolished. Another issue with this collection on Switch, which I just completely forgot about, is the fact that for some reason this is the only Ace Attorney collection that doesn't let you use the Switch touchscreen. You know, the games that probably use the touchscreen the most on DS. Just baffling why they wouldn't include a touchscreen option at all. All the other collections have that. I know these are all minor issues by themselves, but when they're all added together, it's kind of like a death by 100 cuts situation, where none of these issues are that big of a deal by themselves, but once you have them all together, they really build up and make the experience a lot worse. But by far, the most egregious technical issue this game has on Switch is in cases 2, 4, and 5, there are investigation segments in which running around will make the game start buffering and chopping like onions. I posted about this issue to Reddit like the first day I played the game, and a lot of people were wondering, wait, I haven't had this issue, I haven't noticed this issue, and turns out it's exclusive to the Switch version, specifically in case 2, 4, and 5. Those are the only times it happens. It doesn't happen at all in case 1 and 3. And for that matter, none of the aforementioned issues are present in Investigations 2 at all. I never ran into a single time in Investigations 2 in which investigation segments would buffer. I never ran into any of the text box issues, the organizer opens up fast, none of the speech bubble issues, none of any of the technical issues that I had in Investigations 1 I had in the second game, which just tells me that they put all their eggs in the Investigations 2 basket and left the first game unpolished. I can also say confidently that this isn't just an issue with the Nintendo Switch itself. The Switch has more than enough power to handle some visual novel games. All the other Ace Attorney collections ran fine on Switch, never had any of these issues. Also, again, if this were an issue with the Nintendo Switch, then why doesn't Investigations 2 have any of these issues? It clearly is that they just didn't spend anywhere near as much time testing and polishing Investigations 1 as they did for Investigations 2. That being said, Prosecutor's Gambit comes with its own issues. The first issue, which was probably the biggest issue when this collection released with Investigations 2, was the overwhelming quantity of typos that were present in the game. There were an embarrassing amount of typos in Investigations 2. I honestly think that Investigations 2 in this collection, when it launched, had the most typos out of any of the Ace Attorney games. I caught so many, like at least 30 typos. That being said, I can't complain about this too much since Capcom has actually released an update to the collection which fixes these typos, and I gotta say, round of applause. I actually was not expecting them to do that. Like, legitimately, I was blindsided by this update. I was like, wow, they actually updated the collection to fix an issue. No way. They have still yet to fix any of the Nintendo Switch specific issues, neither here nor in the Apollo Justice handheld mode sprites. But regardless, this was definitely the biggest issue in the collection that was present among all platforms, and I am pleasantly surprised that Capcom actually put out a patch to fix it. That being said, Ace Attorney Investigations 2 still has one issue in it that is yet to be fixed. As petty as it might be, this might be the biggest issue I have with this entire collection. I'm not even kidding. I have not seen a single person online, not one fucking person on the internet has talked about this issue, and I legitimately thought I was going insane when playing Investigations 2. I didn't know if this issue was an actual issue or if my mind was just literally spiraling. I was losing my mind at this. So when you play the first Investigations game, in the investigation segments, the way it works is if you use the left stick, Edgeworth will automatically run. That's fine and all. It works. It feels really nice to control. In fact, there's a lot of times in the first game which I would actually just run around the crime scene for a minute just because it felt so good to do. But for some reason, some unknown reason that historians are still researching to this day, they have yet to find the answers. Philosophers have dedicated their entire lives to finding out the truth as to why this issue persists. In specifically the second Investigations game, when you use the left analog stick, when you move straight up or down or straight left and right, Edgeworth will for some reason decide to go diagonally. For no reason at all. I have no idea why this is an issue. I have no idea why it only plagues the second game, how they didn't notice this. But for some reason, Edgeworth will move diagonally when you push straight left to right or straight up and down. I was losing my mind. I was like, why does it feel so much slipperier and so much worse than the first game? I thought my Joy-Con must have been drifting or something. Nope, no Joy-Con drift, no nothing. Joy-Cons worked perfectly fine. I went to the first game to test it out. That worked perfectly fine. But for some reason, only in Prosecutor's Gambit was this an issue. Why is this an issue? Why? Look, here's footage of me moving straight up and down in Investigations 1, straight left and right, no problems at all, alright? Now here's Investigations 2. What is this? What is this, Capcom? How is this in the game? How did this issue manage to go through testing? It went through the whole development cycle, and it went through the release, and 2 updates later, this is still in the game. I have no idea if this is a Nintendo Switch exclusive issue. In fact, I have someone I know that went to play the game on the Switch using the Pro Controller, and they had no issues with this whatsoever. I have a friend with PlayStation 5, played the game, didn't have an issue with this. I don't know, is this exclusive to the Switch? Is it exclusive to the Joy-Cons? Is it exclusive? For some reason, the Joy-Cons are the only controller that this applies to, and I am just the only person on planet Earth who played the Investigations collection on the Nintendo Switch with Joy-Cons. I have no idea why, but I have not seen anyone talk about this. I have not seen anyone mention this. Out of all the issues people have talked about with this collection, not a single living, breathing, walking biped on this planet has mentioned this issue. And yes, I know that I could use the D-pad. I'm not using the D-pad on the Switch. Alright, the D-pad sucks on the Switch. The quote-unquote D-pad buttons. I'm not using that. Also, I could use the right stick, but for some reason, they decided to make it so that the right stick only moves in 4 directions. So I'm not using that either. So I made a Reddit post compiling all the issues I had with the collection. And among them, I just thought I would mention this issue I had with Investigations 2, thinking that everyone in the replies would just be like, yeah, I haven't faced that issue. I've heard nothing about this. That's stupid. I wonder why that is. I haven't experienced it. But one person brought down by the Lord above, the goddess of justice herself, sent a person down just for me, blessed them. And they responded, this Redditor, Lord bless them, they responded to me with an explanation as to why that occurs. So on Reddit, user poltergust_3000 responded to me, giving me an explanation as to why this issue happens. They said, from what I understand, the angle offset is incorrect for Ace Attorney Investigations 2 for some bizarre reason. Let's say the up vector for the control stick is at 0 degrees. Investigations 1 correctly reads every control stick angle between 337.5 and 22.5 degrees is up. Every angle between 22.5 and 67.5 degrees is upright, and so on. So if you push your control stick at an angle of 89 degrees, Edgeworth will go right, since that is the closest vector to that angle, 90 degrees. Ace Attorney Investigations 2, however, reads up as being between 0 and 45 degrees, upright being between 45 and 90 degrees, and so on. Going back to the previous example, let's say you were pushing your control stick at an angle of 89 degrees, which is almost entirely right. Edgeworth will be going upright instead. This is extremely jarring, and I'm surprised this was not fixed before launch. I've since adjusted to using the D-pad instead, but I shouldn't have needed to. This is something that should have been identified and fixed within like 2 minutes tops. User Poltergust _3000, I want to marry you. I have no idea who you are, but you have literally been sent from the heavens above. You are an actual angel. I literally was going insane. I don't like, what? How is this an issue? How did this make it into the game? I'm just baffled. I know this is such a minor thing, but like when playing the game, it's so annoying. You try to investigate something and I'm pushing up, but then Edgeworth just starts moving to the left or right, and it's just so freaking annoying. I have to actually sit up for this. It is so annoying. Why is this an issue? How did this get through? Why has no one talked about this? How can anyone play this game with the left stick and not find this extremely annoying? I'm losing my mind, man. I've been talking about this for like 5 minutes now. I'm gonna keep talking about this. This is unironically what I would consider to be the biggest issue in this collection. Even though Investigations 1 has all these technical issues, that's Investigations 1, alright? This is Investigations 2. It would be literally perfect. It would be literal perfection, not a single flaw at all in the game if it weren't for this utterly baffling error. Like, how did this make it into the game? Alright, deep breaths, Avert. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Alright, let's talk about the gallery. So this gallery is a step down from the Apollo Justice gallery. I will say I still like the UI in the gallery. It looks really nice. Everything just looks sleek. It looks exactly like how you would expect the Edgeworth Investigations Collection gallery to look. In said gallery, the contents are pretty much what you would expect by now. You got the usual. You got your photo album where you can look at pictures and images and artwork from the game. You got the music player that lets you listen to the full soundtracks again, which is nice, as well as a bunch of orchestral arrangements, which is also cool. You got the accolades, which are always nice to have, especially on the Switch, which doesn't have an achievement system like the Xbox and PlayStation and PC does. And then you got documentation, which lets you look at concept art. New to the Ace Attorney Investigations collection, however, in the gallery you have the Character Compendium, which lets you look at all of the sprites for the characters in the game, as well as their original pixel art forms, which is really nice. I love the new hand-drawn chibi sprites for this game. I know a lot of people are mixed on it. Some people don't like them. I absolutely love them to pieces. In the Character Compendium, you can also view the hand-drawn artwork for the characters in confrontations as well. You can listen to objection voice lines, and it's really good. I love this addition to the gallery. Now that I've explained everything that's in the gallery, I'm going to proceed to nitpick the gallery because I do have some issues with the gallery, much like everything else in this collection. First of all, the photo album. Photo albums are missing some images from the games. First one I can think of off the top of my head, in Investigations 2, there's this image of this hot air balloon, which is really cool. It's not present in the gallery. Also, the picture of the Sunshine Coliseum also isn't in the gallery. So, I mean, those are two I can think of right off the bat. The character compendium, likewise, is also missing some sprites for characters, as well as some whole characters themselves. For instance, in Investigations 1, there are background cameos for Lotta Hart and Salmonella. These are both characters from the original Phoenix Wright trilogy, and I find it really weird that they're not present at all in the character compendium, despite the fact that, like, this reporter lady and cameraman from the first Investigations game are featured in this. I don't understand it. Also, some animations are missing from the compendium. For instance, child case kicking animation, first one that comes to mind, isn't featured in the compendium. In Investigations 2, all these sprites of characters sitting around this table here, none of these are featured in the compendium. In a perfect world, you would have literally every single sprite that is featured within the Investigations games in the character compendium, but we don't live in a perfect world, alas. Documentation features concept art, which is always nice to see, but I really wish that at the very least they would, like, translate what the Japanese text says here. I know that the whole Great Ace Attorney Chronicles thing of having entire developer and artist comments featured within is a bit, like, much, you know, that's a lot of work to do. But at the very least, like, I want to know what all this Japanese text says. I would love to know, but it's not translated at all. Finally, with this music player, there is very little to complain about here. It does feature both full soundtracks as well as the songs that were present in the original trilogy that do play in the games. Again, meaning that you can listen to more of this music in a music player here than you can in the actual Phoenix Wright trilogy, which is just funny to think about and also very sad. Also, this collection features a lot of new arrangements for the music that were made specifically for this collection, and I love almost all of these. There are some of them I think are, like, kind of you know, the objection theme for Ace Attorney Investigations 2, they removed that sick saxophone solo and replaced it with a guitar solo instead, which kind of makes me like it less than the original. Other tracks are range from being, wow, this is really great, to it's alright as a remix. But overall, I still prefer using the original soundtrack, but I like that this is an option. The Investigations 2 arrangements in particular are exclusive as a pre-order bonus, and you already know that, yet again, I am going to flex this upon you. Nothing I can do about that. Sorry, not sorry. But a nitpick I have here, and yes, this is a very minor issue, but this music player doesn't let you seek through the song. You can't skip ahead in a track, which usually isn't an issue, but some of the orchestral arrangements here range to like 10 minutes or more, and it would be nice to be able to skip ahead in that, you know? Using the right stick left and right doesn't do anything, so that could be the way to do it. Other than that, though, this music player is great. I love these little records that spin around with the art on them. Just good stuff. So with all that being said, my final verdict for the Ace Attorney Investigations collection is that I love it, but it's kind of like a toxic relationship, you know? Like, I love the collection dearly, but I get ghosted by it all the time. Just, it never responds to my texts, and I'm always there like, hey, I love you, but then it's like, hey, why are you doing that though, you know? Like, this relationship could work out if you were to just stop messing up and hiccuping all the time, like, bleh. If there is one piece of hope to take away here, it's that this collection requires not but an update to be perfection. Every issue I have with the collection, besides like minor issues I have with the gallery, are all technical issues exclusive to Switch, and all of them can be fixed with a single software update. I know the game's gotten 2 updates so far, neither of them have addressed the issues. Capcom has never addressed Nintendo Switch exclusive technical issues with these Ace Attorney collections, but a man can dream. More than anything, I just feel disappointed at how many issues I have with it. Honestly, fix all the issues and this is easily my favorite Ace Attorney collection, even though it already is my favorite Ace Attorney collection. But come on, there's so much love put into this. It's not like this was just like they had no passion for this project whatsoever. You can see the passion. All the hand-drawn sprites are gorgeous. I love them so much. They all look incredible. the fact that you can look at those and also the original pixel art, you can change to the original pixel art, which, I mean, I was gonna do that on one of my playthroughs, but every time I do that, I end up just like wanting to go back to original art because the original art looks a lot better. Also, the pixel art, they kind of just make the game blurrier. You know, they didn't even like bring the DS stuff back. They just added a blur filter to it. But yeah, the chibi sprites hand-drawn are gorgeous. I love them. Also, just other small stuff like the organizer now actually looks like a real organizer. This is great. It has the same 2x4 evidence layout from the DS games. Also, when you present something, there's this little yellow tab that comes out. It's like, ugh! And on the topic of the UI, the Ace Attorney Investigations collection also retains the same reticle for examining things as was in the DS games, making this the first time an Ace Attorney collection has done that. Finally, the Ace Attorney Investigations collection is also the only Ace Attorney collection in which the artwork for the cases is not spoiled for you before you enter the cases. I don't know why it took 4 collections for them to finally not make the case artwork visible from the outset, but I don't care. I'm just glad that they finally did it. You can see the love put into this, but either they weren't given enough time or something. I don't know. Like, honestly, you can tell the majority of the work in this collection went into Investigations 2. It is as good of a localization as I could possibly ask for. But when you look at the first game, it's just riddled with these technical issues. It's so unpolished. All the eggs were put in the Investigations 2 basket. That's what's selling this game. And honestly, the game is worth the price of admission for Investigations 2 alone. But I really do wish that they put some more work into this. Honestly, what this feels like is it kind of feels like the production for this game was started after the Apollo Justice Trilogy came out. You know? Like, I could totally see a board meeting happening where they're like, alright, we got all the Ace Attorney games brought to modern platforms. Now we just need to release Ace Attorney 7. Then one guy in the back raises his hand. Yes, what is it? You still haven't put out the Ace Attorney Investigations games? The what? What are you talking about? What hieroglyphics are you bestowing upon me right now? Yeah, there were like 2 Ace Attorney Investigations games on the DS. They were like spin-off games featuring Miles Edgeworth. Huh. These Investigations games. Alright, you guys just throw together a collection for these games, and then they actually put some work into it. They had passion, but they were given like, I don't know, till like September to put the game out. So most of the work was just spent redrawing the sprites and whatnot, and they didn't have a lot of time to polish everything up, and there were a lot of typos in the localization, and then they just put it out. And that really sucks. Overall, as much as it pains me, I can only really give this collection a 7 out of 10 as a collection. It is good, but I cannot in good conscience give it a higher score with the amount of flaws it currently has. Just update it. Just fix all the technical issues on Switch, fix everything that's wrong with it, and then my score will be raised. But most importantly, the main thing they need to do with this collection is they need to fix this issue in Investigations 2. Why does it do that? This makes no sense at all. Who did this? Damn. This is kind of nostalgic. Putting up my phone camera on my dresser. I haven't done this in almost a year, you know. Yeah, I know. I am hereby declared guilty. Guilty for not uploading in so long. I know, I'm aware. Alright, sentencing myself. I did not upload in a long time, and I know I said that I want to cut down on these, like, face cam moments, but I can't end the video without waving bye to you guys. How am I going to do that? Also, I'm still not putting anything on that wall. Not because I'm lazy, I just don't want to do it. I don't care. I don't need anything on this wall. It can stay as it is. So, yeah. I need to remember how to work this thing. You know, I can't even do a video outro normally. And you know how rusty I am? I haven't done a video outro in so long. I can't even do one. How do I do this? How do I end this video now? Alright? How do I do this thing? I don't get it. But yeah, I want to try keeping a consistent pace on video production. Even if I'm not uploading a couple of videos every month, I still want to at least work on videos every month, you know? Because I know the second that I take another quick break, I'm going to end up not uploading for another almost entire year, and I don't want to go through all this again. I want to become eligible for monetization, damn it. And also, I love you guys as well. But also the monetization, damn it. Where's my money? But, yeah, it makes sense that I would come back with talking about my favorite media franchise of all time. I think this is a good video to get back into the grind set on. And overall, yeah, I made a video like a week or two ago. I don't know how long this video is going to take to come out, but the last video I put out was just an update video informing everyone about where I've been and everything. That video hit the algorithm for some reason. No idea why. Probably like the lowest effort I put into any video ever, but also probably the most fun I've had making any video ever. Just me yapping for like 2 hours. A full feature-length film of me yapping. And that hit the algorithm? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Maybe I'll make more yapping videos because, yeah. I don't know how to end this. I don't want to go for too long though. I'm going to run out of phone storage. I might have already. So, yeah, it's nice to be back. Thank you all for watching. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day, week, month, and year. This year, we got to make this a good year, all right? I know everything is pointing to the fact that this year will be guilty of being a crap year, but we got to get a not guilty verdict on this year, whatever that means. So yeah, again, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you whenever video make next. And yeah, have a great day, month, and year. Goodbye, everyone.